Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So, The Last of Us Part 1 leaked out online yesterday, and we talked a little bit about that in a previous video, but things have actually gotten worse since then as more footage has surfaced online. Fans right now are not happy with what they're currently seeing, and Sony's being questioned about the intentions of this remake and whether or not it's just a simple cash grab. So we're going to discuss that a little later on today and what I think about some of the leaks that we've seen so far. Also, another rumor popped up regarding one of Xbox's most dormant and beloved franchises. Could Xbox really be bringing back Banjo-Kazooie? Yeah, I would absolutely love that, as I'm a huge fan of the franchise, so yeah, we're going to talk about that one as well. But before we do, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button below. It does greatly help out the channel, you know, YouTube's algorithm and all that. And also, go and subscribe, that way you can stay up to date with all of the latest gaming news. To start things off today, though, Nintendo actually had a leak of their own. I guess this has just been a really rough week for some of these publishers out there, but this here is something that is starting to become very common for Nintendo games for whatever reason, and that's that their big games keep breaking street date. Yeah, that's right, Xenoblade 3, which is set to release later this month on July 29th, but now early copies have started to leak out and was even being sold on eBay as of last night. Several listings made their way to eBay for above market price. Some listings were around $70 plus shipping and handling, and these users had like 20 plus copies on hand. So my guess is that these came from some warehouse out there, but the thing is that they were indeed selling out. And I mean, some of these copies were going for like $100 after shipping and handling. I guess some fans just couldn't wait that extra couple of days at most, depending on when your package is actually delivered. It's not like this stuff is just going to pop up on your door today. It does take time to be delivered. But I guess it is what it is. People can do whatever they want with their own money, of course, but this is a bit of a warning. Of course, with Xenoblade 3 leaking out a little early here, there could be potential spoilers out there before release. I am very excited to play this game, as I really did like the first two games a lot, and I'm expecting 3 to be a big step up in terms of combat specifically, but yeah, we all might need to proceed with caution regarding Xenoblade 3 spoilers. Now, Ubisoft also had a rough day, as their financial conference call was today, and well, it did not go well. I don't know if I can recall a financial call that went quite this bad in a long time. But they made several announcements here, pretty much all of which were bad, including the delay of Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Avatar was originally slated to release this holiday, but has now been pushed back to their 2023 to 2024 fiscal year, which means that we're looking at a release date anywhere from April of 2023 all the way to March of 2024. It'll release sometime within that specific time frame. The thing about Avatar, though, is that we do still need to see some gameplay. Jeff Grubb stated today that what he had heard was that it's a pretty game, but that the gameplay is in rough shape, which is likely why we're seeing a delay here, and probably also why Ubisoft has yet to show any type of meaningful gameplay. Ubisoft wasn't quite finished, though. Like I said, this was a rough financial call for them, as they also announced that they have officially canceled Splinter Cell VR, Ghost Recon Frontline, and 2 unannounced games. Now, with Ghost Recon Frontline, the last time we saw it, it did look uninspired. It was just this type of battle royale style of game, and fans weren't necessarily impressed with it, so the cancellation for that probably isn't overly surprising. But the Splinter Cell VR cancellation, that's certainly very disappointing. I guess at the very least, for Splinter Cell fans out there, there's still the remake to look forward to, and hey, if there is a silver lining here, Ubisoft, they didn't mention Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake in these cancellations today, so I guess those still do exist. Overall, though, it does look like Ubisoft right now is having a bit of a rough time, and I kind of wonder what exactly is happening over there. We need to talk about The Last of Us Part 1, though. This game has been plagued by leaks up to this point. I mean, we first started hearing about the remake over a year ago when its development leaked out online, and immediately, fans were just kind of in disbelief. Like, why would Sony remake The Last of Us out of all games? I mean, they have such a rich catalog of classics like, I don't know, Legends of Dragoon as an example. That could use a remake, but instead we get The Last of Us, a game that released on the PlayStation 3 back in 2013. It still actually looks good to this day, and actually even better on the PlayStation 4 as they remastered it in 2014. So you can play this game right now on your PlayStation 5 through backwards compatibility. But despite all that, they're still remaking this game, which makes the third time that they will have released this game in less than 10 years. It's actually kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, and even more so when you consider that they're charging $70 for this remake. Well, at first, when they finally officially revealed The Last of Us Part 1, I think a lot of us were just kind of willing to give Naughty Dog the benefit of the doubt. It does seem like, at the very least, it is a nice visual upgrade. I personally think that it looks great myself from a graphical standpoint, and the leak here, it does kind of back that up as well. And if they could transform the gameplay to be even more similar to The Last of Us Part 2, then yeah, okay, the remake might be worth that $70 asking price. That would be a pretty substantial upgrade. But there's one odd thing happening with this game. So far, Naughty Dog and PlayStation, they have yet to show any sort of gameplay. Now, why exactly is that? It does seem kind of strange because this is a game releasing in just a little over a month, so you would think that they'd want to show gameplay. But for whatever reason, they haven't. Are they hiding something here, or is something else happening? Well, as we talked about yesterday, early footage has started to leak out online, and according to the leaker, the gameplay has received no improvements. Instead, most improvements according to the leaker are for the animations and for the audio. So this here started to cause a lot of concern online. Maybe this is why we haven't seen official gameplay. But because the leaker only revealed the intro, which doesn't really include gameplay, well, because of that, there was still a lot of skepticism over this claim, or at least until today. Since that original leak, gameplay is also leaked out online, and it does seemingly confirm that original claim that the gameplay received quote-unquote no improvements. Now, fans which were previously skeptical before are suddenly upset. The new gameplay that's leaked out online doesn't really look all that much different from the original game. Now, per usual, I'm not going to post those leaks on my channel for copyright reasons, but I have seen them myself, and it is a legitimate leak. This is actual gameplay. How old the build is, I can't 100% be certain of that, but again, the gameplay shown looked very similar to the original game. And to a degree, that's understandable, because it is still the same game after all. But that there is kind of the problem here. Sony's asking for $70, and that was already under scrutiny in the first place. But there was this hope that they would make some big improvements to the gameplay to just kind of justify its steep asking price. And really that would be to make its gameplay more similar to something like The Last of Us Part 2, but here in this leak, that just appears not to be the case. Now, there might be some slight improvements that aren't immediately noticeable, as Naughty Dog themselves, they do claim that they did improve things like its controls. But again, based on this leak here, it doesn't appear that they made any drastic improvements as fans were hoping for. If there are big changes, though, I really think that Sony and Naughty Dog, they need to get ahead of this thing and come out and show that. Put a gameplay trailer out and kind of just douse the fire, if you will. I mean, I'm sure that they'll put a gameplay trailer out some point, but with this controversy just blowing up online, a new trailer sooner rather than later might actually be the smart thing to do here. Regardless of what happens, though, the more underlying issue with this game has always been the same thing. Did it actually need a remake in the first place? And I'm not exactly sure that it did, and with it being a full-priced $70 game, it just raises that question even more. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still going to be a great game. That's not going to change. But all at the same time, this is still a game that's released 3 times in less than 10 years. So I can hardly blame fans for questioning Sony here. I think for a lot of people, this could be a prime game to just skip out on and just wait for it to go and sell. Now, I have seen some people online bring up the Demon's Souls remake. That's their defense to all of this. And really, I think that that's such a poor comparison, as Demon's Souls on the PlayStation 5 was actually a substantial upgrade in terms of its visual quality, and the original, it wasn't readily available. That's one of the big problems here. Demon's Souls was stuck on a PlayStation 3, which has no backwards compatibility, whereas The Last of Us, you can still play that game on the PlayStation 5 today through backwards compatibility. Let me know, though. Are you going to pick up The Last of Us Part 1 at launch based on what we've seen so far? Of course, though, one thing important to keep in mind here is that this is still just a leak, and some judgment might need to be reserved for an official gameplay trailer. But again, based on what we have seen so far, will you be picking up The Last of Us Part 1 at launch? Now, we also have an Xbox rumor to talk about, and this kind of piggybacks on a rumor that we heard just last month, right before the Xbox Bethesda showcase, and that was for the return of Banjo-Kazooie. As we talked about last month, right before the Xbox Bethesda showcase, MVG and Nate the Hate had stated that they had heard about a new Banjo-Kazooie game and that they were predicting that it was going to be announced at that Xbox Bethesda showcase. Well, unfortunately, that didn't actually happen. Us Banjo fans just kind of died a little bit more on the inside that day. But we're also kind of hardened to all of that. We as Banjo fans out there, we expect disappointment on a yearly basis, but we still just hold on to that glimmer of hope all at the same time. And right now, it is absolutely glimmering, even if just ever so slightly. After that Xbox Bethesda showcase, Nate the Hate doubled down on this rumor, stating that a new Banjo game was greenlit, and the reason that it wasn't announced at the Xbox Bethesda showcase was because it's not a game releasing in the next 12 months, which is what they focused on at that event. And okay, fair enough. But right now, we're just hearing this from MVG and Nate the Hate. Both do have a decent reputation, but insiders are sometimes wrong. We see it all the time. It's not necessarily all that uncommon. But well, now all of a sudden, yet another supposed insider has a similar claim, that a new Banjo game is indeed coming. This one is actually coming from Ecstasis TV, which from what I've gathered has a decent reputation. He's leaked things like Forza 8's release date, and now he's also claiming that Banjo's coming back and speculates that its developer might be Sumo Digital. Now that part there is just speculation, but it actually does kind of make sense when you start to think about it. Sumo Digital might actually be a good fit for Banjo, as they have worked with Xbox in the past on games like Crackdown 3 as an example, and more importantly, they do have experience with 3D platformers. They did develop Sackboy: Big Adventure, which is, now that's actually a pretty good game. So they do have the experience to work on a Banjo-Kazooie game. Though I think the big question here is whether or not it would be a completely new game, or if it would just be a remake. It is possible that Xbox could do something similar with Banjo as we saw with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, where they first released remakes of the originals. And honestly, I'd be all for that. The originals are still amazing, and I would love to see them get remade, and if it turns out to be a success, well then they could come out and make a completely new game following it up. I think that would be smart. It's a low risk, and it also fits in line with what Phil Spencer has said in the past. He stated that they want more family-friendly games, and well, I mean, Banjo does fit into that category. So let's make this happen, Phil. I'm begging you, please, Phil Spencer, let's bring Banjo back. Let's make it happen. Still, though, as a longtime Banjo fan, and I hate to say it, but I do expect to be disappointed. And I'm just going to kind of take this rumor with a grain of salt. We hear rumors every single year for Banjo, and you know, hopefully this is the year. I mean, I'm never going to just completely lose all hope, but I am kind of hardened to it by this point. You just kind of expect disappointment. Moving on though, one last topic I want to talk about just real quick is Live Alive HD, and that's because reviews are out today. Of course, it releases tomorrow, but if you've been interested in this game, the good news is that it's being very well received critically. Currently has an 82 overall score on Metacritic with 39 positive ratings and only 9 mixed. So that's definitely a good sign, and from what I've heard, the remake not only looks stunning, I mean it really does look absolutely amazing, but the story and its unique but simple gameplay mechanics have aged very well. Now, I've never played the original game myself, so I don't really have anything to compare it to here, but from what I've heard, all the stories in this game does indeed intersect for a memorable story, and I'm definitely excited to play this one myself. I do like these old school games, and I do hope that this one performs well, because I would like to see Square Enix continue to make these 2D HD games. It's just a great way to bring back some of these classic pixel art games. They really do look amazing all these years later. But if you are interested in Live Alive HD, it does release for the Nintendo Switch tomorrow on July 22nd. Yeah, I'd have to say, Nintendo, I mean, they just continue to kill it, especially with these JRPGs. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though. We're going to ask you all, do you think Xbox should work with Platinum Games again and revive Scalebound? It does seem like Platinum Games, they absolutely want to make this happen, so it means it's really just all kind of up to Microsoft. Would they foot the bill Trust Platinum Games again to make it happen. And well, at least based on your all's opinion, most of you all want to see this happen, with 64% of you saying yes, while 25% of you said no. Now, I'm definitely with you all that voted yes, as I was always really interested in Scalebound. I always felt like this game looked like it had a lot of potential. I think based on the gameplay trailers we saw, it looked interesting. I really liked the setting, and the combat looked pretty decent as well. The big problem I think that I had with Scalebound was that it was very clear that it had some performance issues. Its frame rate, it was just kind of all over the place, but I think from a gameplay standpoint, I think it looked pretty good. But you know, the thing is that performance, that can easily be fixed, and especially with the Xbox Series X. I mean, this is a very powerful console, so I'm sure that they could get Scalebound up and running on the Series X a lot better than what we saw last generation for the Xbox One. And also, I feel like that Microsoft, they can just take more risks now. They do have Xbox Game Pass, and I think that Scalebound, that would be a perfect fit for Xbox Game Pass. This is a game that fans a lot of fans, they just have not given up hope for this game, because it does look like it has a lot of potential, and this is coming from Platinum Games, one of Japan's most talented studios. Just give them a chance and let's see what happens here, because not only have Platinum Games changed a lot since then, but also Xbox has changed a lot since then. They can now just bring Platinum Games back and let them do whatever they want with this game. And I do understand that some people out there, they just kind of don't trust Platinum Games, but just bear with me for a moment. Platinum Games, again, is a very talented studio coming from Japan, and I know that Babylon's Fall did not perform well, and I do understand that Scalebound was eventually canceled, but Platinum Games as a whole has put out a lot of great games. I mean, you're talking about Nier Automata. That is a masterpiece in my opinion. They also released Astral Chain. There's the Bayonetta games. Bayonetta 3 looks excellent, by the way. They also have Wonderful 101, and they're also linked to games before Platinum Games was formed, such as Okami. They have a lot of great games, so you can't just discount this studio for a couple of failures. They clearly are very talented, so I think that Xbox should just roll the dice and see what happens here. Let's see what Platinum Games can do and see how much they have truly grown since we saw this game get canceled. If anything, Xbox wants more Japanese games, and here's your chance to work with one of the best Japanese studios on an exclusive title. Yeah, I'd say definitely go for it. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.